Juvenis.
Hello and welcome to the 2018 Vice Presidential Debate, organized by Nigeria Elections Debate Group and the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria. Let me state at this point that none of the candidates who are appearing here today or their party members have seen any of the questions we are going to be asking them. The audience here in this auditorium has also agreed to remain silent. No cheering, no jeering. That way, this debate will achieve its purpose. But the exception to that rule is now as I introduce the candidates in alphabetical order using their party acronyms. The candidate of the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, ACPN, Ganiyu Galadima. The candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Yemi Osibanjo. The candidate of the Alliance for New Nigeria, ANN, Khadija Abdullahi Iya. The candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Peter Obi. And the candidate of the Young Progressives Party, YPP, Umar Getso. Thank you. This debate is streamed on all our online platforms. You can join the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag 2019debate. Hashtag 2019debate. All right. I've just a while ago been handed the questions. You can see the candidates sealed. None of you have seen them. None of your party members have seen any of these questions. So we shall proceed to open the envelope. First, we need each of the candidates to have an opening statement of 3 minutes each. And we begin with the candidate of the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, ACPN. The 3 minutes begins now.
Fellow candidates, the moderator, distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to give glory to God for giving us the opportunity to be here today. And my sincere gratitude also goes to the NEDG for giving us the opportunity to speak to Nigerians. This is not the first opportunity of my party to face Nigerians in a presidential contest. In 2015, we participated equally in NDG debate for presidential candidates, even though then I was a presidential candidate. But between 2015 and now, I think we have recorded little or no improvement in governance, and the left of people is becoming the worse for it, making Nigeria to become the capital of poverty in the world, which is very disheartening. So I want to say that we cannot continue to do the same thing the same way and be expecting different results. There is need for Nigerians to look at the candidates and their manifestos before they can cast their vote. Nigerians are the worst for it, and the GDP of the country is becoming lower and lower, becoming lower and lower. The bane of this is that unemployment is becoming higher and higher, and this is because of the wrong policy of the government. In 2015, what we were told by the APC was that the subsidy was a fraud. As it is today, the Nigerian government is subsidizing petroleum product, PMS, to the tune of 2 billion naira daily. 2 billion naira daily. If you calculate 2 billion naira, approximately 2 billion naira daily times 30 days, it's too staggering. That is to say that we are subsidizing inefficiency. We are subsidizing the rich. And funds that are hitherto are supposed to go into development, into infrastructure, and to build other sectors of the economy are being frittered away. Is the reason why in 2019?
Thank you very much. It's now the turn of the candidate of the Alliance for New Nigeria, AAN, Khadija Abdullahi Iyan.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, fellow candidates. My name is Khadija Abdullahi. I am a nation builder, a lawyer, and a social entrepreneur. I was born 44 years ago into the family of Elijah Audu Kwengila. I was born in Kaduna, grew up in Lagos, and came back to the north. I studied law from the University of Abuja and had my master's degree from the University of Jos. I gained my experiences from the legal practice, banking and finance, and media. I founded SI Magazine Limited, which is focused on humanitarian journalism and social development. Before SI Magazine in 2006, I founded an NGO called Beyond Mentors Community Care Initiative, which is devoted to women and children, promoting women empowerment policies, encouraging literacy at the grassroots, and cultivating the spirit of patriotism. I am passionate about women, particularly passionate about the plight of children. That's why most of my programs are focused and targeted at the children and youth. I believe that we should all be concerned about the plight of children in Nigeria. And that is basically securing our future, the future of our children, our future. I am vying for the office of Vice President of Nigeria because I am concerned about every one of the over 2.1 million children in the Northeast and the IDP camps, which are scattered across Nigeria. I am also concerned about the 13 million children who are out of school. I am, as a wife and a mother of 7, I am committed to using every resource of authority at my disposal to ensure that every child, every young person, every mother, and every father gets the opportunities that they deserve in their pursuit of happiness. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for keeping within your time frame. The candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Professor Osibanjo, your opening statement.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Good evening, fellow candidates. I'll just go straight to where we're at as a government, beginning with our journey in infrastructure. Today, we have begun perhaps one of the largest infrastructure projects in the history of our country. We're building railways between Lagos and Kano. That medium gauge railway, we will expect that the first phase of it, that's the Lagos-Ibadan part of it, will be ready in January. At the same time, we've done the Alaja-Warri. All we're left with is supplying feedstock to it. Kano-Maradi rail, which is one of the oldest commercial routes in the country, that has just been given. And the KfW, the German bank, is sponsoring that railway, the Kano-Maradi rail. We're also looking at the Lagos-Calabar rail. And these are some of just the rail routes. In every state of Nigeria today, we have a major road project. Practically 16 years after the Lagos-Ibadan expressway was abandoned. We are dealing with that today, and we're building that Lagos-Ibadan road practically every day today. That's a major road out of the commercial nerve center of Nigeria. At the same time, agriculture. In the area of agriculture, barely 5 years ago, this country was importing $5 million of rice every single day. Today, we're down to 90% less. We're producing 90% of the rice that we consume, and we're importing only 2% of what we used to import. At the same time, there are other forms of produce. Sorghum, for example, is fast replacing barley. We're also in cashew and practically every other area. Agriculture in Nigeria today has certainly gone up in leaps and bounds. I hope we'll have time to talk about that later on. We have a social investment policy, possibly the largest ever in the history of our country. 500 billion is what we're investing in every cycle. Under the Empower scheme, we're employing 500,000 graduates, and the 500,000 graduates are in every single local government. At the same time, we have the homegrown school feeding program. 9.2 million children are fed every single day in 26 states of Nigeria. We have what is called the Government Empowerment and Enterprise Scheme, which is a microcredit loan. We have market money, which is for small businesses, and then we have the trader money, which is for the petty traders. So far, we've done about 1.4 million petty traders and market people in all. At the same time, under that same SIP, we have the conditional cash transfer scheme, taking at least 400,000 people so far out of poverty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
As the turn of the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Peter Obi.
Mr. Vice President, fellow candidates, we now live in a country where we have the highest number of poor people in any nation, 87 million, and growing 6% every minute. Our country today has the highest number of out-of-school children in the world. Our HDI has dropped from 152 to 157. Our global competitive index has dropped from 124 to 127. In terrorism, we have moved from 7 to number 3, just behind Iran and Afghanistan. Our inequality have worsened. Our misery index have worsened. Our stress index, we are now 148 over 149. If you look at all this, it hints on 2 things from studies, and that is on education and unemployment. Our unemployment has moved from 24, as you know, to 40 today. The more you can invest in education, the better your economy. That shows we're not investing in education. In issue of unemployment, which has worsened, we have millions of our children out of school. And you can see from a study that there's a straight link between SMEs and growing your economy. And we're not supporting on SMEs very well. If you look at what China has been able to do with the SMEs, SME in China is contributing 60% of their GDP. And 60% of China GDP is 7.2 trillion, which is 18% of Nigerian GDP. They are contributing 60% of the employment. On urban employment, they are contributing 80%. 80% of urban unemployment in China is 480. 80% of that is 380, which is towards Nigerian economy. China today, using the same SME, is guaranteeing 10 million jobs annually. This year alone, half of this year, China have produced 7.2 million jobs, which is over 40% of their target. Within the same period, Nigeria lost 44 million jobs. So we need to re-gig this and have a better focus on how we can create jobs. As long as we don't create jobs and have the number of unemployed youths in their productive age that we have today, we're going to have crisis. That's why we have issue of insecurity, issue of instability. All sorts of things we're witnessing today is because we have not been able to create jobs that other countries are creating with effortless ease. And I know that Atiku Abubakar Obi presidency can produce jobs, which is the most critical.
Thank you very much. Today. Thank you. Candidate of the Young Progressives Party, YPP, Umar Getso.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, Bon. Thank you, channels, and all the organizers of this wonderful and memorable event. My name is Abdullahi Getso from Kano State. Daughter of a former senator in Kano State and a person that's grown and brought up into a political home. I have a passion for the girl child education, and I spent the early years of my adulthood in the development of a common Nigerian. I was the pioneer member, founder of Falala Women Multipurpose Cooperative Society in Bauchi, which has impacted the lives of a lot of rural women in Bauchi. And I later on founded Youth Enlightenment Initiative of Nigeria, which up to now we are empowering young men and women in the country. I later on joined the political system, which I co-founded New Progressive Movement, a party that intends to create a kind of avenue where the youth can just run what they have politically. And now, as a member, as a running mate of Professor Kingsley Magalu, I want to use this opportunity to thank the organizers of this event. And my presidential candidate is a person that has a lot to offer to Nigeria, because if you compare him with the choices we have, we can see that Professor Kingsley Magalu is among the best because he has experience in all sectors of the economy, which is the main problem we're having today in Nigeria. And I, as Umar Getso, felt that I should join this race because I am a passionate Nigerian. I so much believe in Nigeria working again. And as a mother of three, as a wife, as a normal person, I've been to the lowest level of Nigerian standard of living. And I know how Nigerians are suffering. I know that there is no substantial thing from 1999 to date that a typical Nigerian will show today and say, yes, I am proud of my country. So to be candid, YPP is a party that is here to give a new thing. It's a party that's founded with a new ideology to bring in the paradigm shift, a bunch of kind of new set of politicians, new set of people, because we cannot deal with people that destroy our past to come and to expect them to come and improve our future tomorrow. So we are trying, we in our party, we have a lot of support from the youth, and because we all know that the youth are the future of tomorrow. So in my party, we so much believe in the new Nigeria, a Nigeria where every Nigerian will have an equal right and will have a story to tell tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all of you. Office of the Vice President is often seen as that of a spare tire role to the office of the President. Do you think the office needs more responsibilities? or is okay as it is defined in the Constitution, the Nigerian 1999 Constitution as amended?
I have not seen the office of the Vice President as a spare because it is the same constitution, it's the same qualification that the president of our country must have, that the Vice President must have. And besides, roles were specified for both the president and the vice president. And don't forget, if the president is not around, it is the Vice President that took over. And I want to tell you, to know how important the office of the president is, that it is not inferior to the presidency, is that if the Vice President of our country takes any decision as acting president, the president of a country cannot legally go against that action. I remember when our president was away for some time, the president acted, and all decisions that were taken by him as acting president of this country were never controverted by the president. So the president, the vice president of this country, is just like the office of the president. They have the same status, although one is higher, but none is inferior to the other.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the ANN, should you win this forthcoming election, you will be the first female vice president of Nigeria. How prepared are you for that role and the responsibilities that come with it?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Being a nation builder sticks from the heart, somebody that builds a human being that starts from the human development. So having to take the position of a vice president is not something that should be taken lightly, because a nation builder is that person who sees a problem and resolves it. Our party is well known for what it stands for. We're not talking about, we're not the politicians of the usual days that promises this and that. So what we are going to do is to ensure that every policies that have been taken collectively as a party will be implemented effectively. We have shared values, we understand what the policies are, we understand what the issues are, which issues who goes to the root of humanity. That is what we stand for. We stand for humanity and community development. So being a vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is an office which must be taken seriously. It's an office which participates in all the cabinet meetings at office, which is about the economic development of, which handles the issues of economy. So what we are trying to do in our party is to ensure that the economy is diversified, the economy is vibrant enough to stop the too much dependency on a mono economy that we were used to ensure that every aspect of the 774 local governments that we have in Nigeria is upgraded to a commercial hub where every resource, every mineral resources would be enhanced and upgraded, where we would ensure that the issue of unemployment and every other issue that affects the economy right now will be well taken care of. So it is not an office that should be taken for granted. And as I stand, because of my background in humanitarian services and issues, and as a mother, we're used to a country who put politics before economics. In our party, we are putting economics before politics because economics is the driving force. We're doing agriculture. We're talking about the diversification of agriculture, which this administration has already been doing. But what we'll do is much more than what this administration is doing. Thank you
very much. Thank you. Candidate of the APC, you have been vice president for the past 3.5 years, almost 3.5 years. How tasking has this role and responsibility been for you?
Thank you very much. First, I'm sure that those who know me quite well know that my hair was not this gray when I started out in 2015. So really, it has been tasking. It has been tasking, but it has also been an incredibly rewarding experience, especially from the point of view of the ability to do the things that one wanted to do all along as an individual. But the role is one where you are, in many senses, the chief advisor to the president of the country, and possibly the one person that will represent him, even just when he's absent for a meeting, as opposed to even when he's absent for longer periods. So there is a sense in which the role of the vice president is one that very closely mirrors the role of the president in very profound ways. But our vice presidency is different from the vice presidency of other countries because unlike other countries, even countries that have similar constitutions, our own constitution actually specifies roles for the vice president. So the vice president is the chairman of the National Economic Council. That is the council that's a council where all of the governors of the states meet every once in a month, and the vice president chairs that. That's a constitutional role. Aside from that, the vice president is also the chairman of the NCP. That's the National Council on Privatization. The vice president is also statutory chairman of about 22 different parastatals and agencies. And these are all defined by law. So in some senses, I mean, those who say, for example, that the vice presidential, or the role of the vice president is a spare tire, have it wrong because they probably are looking at other jurisdictions. In our jurisdiction, there are very specific roles that the vice president is entitled or is empowered by law to perform. But I think that one of the more interesting things about that role also is the fact that still a lot depends on the trust that exists between the president and the vice president, because the president does delegate several of his roles, and he can delegate those roles depending, of course, on how on the kind of trust that exists between both parties. So many times also that role is one where a good degree of trust is required between the two players, namely the president and the vice president. Where that trust exists, I think there is plenty of room for activity for the vice president. There's plenty that the vice president can do. And finally, I think that the role of the vice president, is one which also requires, I think a great deal of patience, because you may not always agree, you may not always agree with policy, you may not always agree with all the various aspects of what is being done. You may not always agree. Thank you
very much. Thank you. Time is up. Candidate of the PDP. Now, we have seen vice presidents fall out with their principals. Now, should this happen to you if you win the forthcoming election, how would you handle it?
Well, I assure you that won't be the case. Because like it's clearly stated, the vice president have a role, and the role of the vice president, to me, is most critical role, because we're talking about the economy of this country. The main problem of this country today is its economy. Economy is on the knees. And because it's not working, it's not creating jobs, it's not doing anything, the vice president is in charge of rigging this economy and rebuilding it to where you can create jobs, to where you can be able to ensure that there's financing in various areas of our government. The vice president is in charge of, for example, debt management. Today we have virtually at a level where our debt is unsustainable because we are using over 50% of our revenues to service debt, which means we don't even have enough to be able to do infrastructural projects that is highly needed in this country. Today, your country is owing about $22.7 trillion, $80 billion. And we need to do more, and you can't even find the money to do it. So the vice president office is critical. That you're not today part of G20, you're not part of BRICS nation, even the Mint nation where you are, is because you have a poor economy. Because if you look at the BRICS nations, every other government there, Mexico has a GDP of over 1 trillion and per capita of over 8,000. Turkey, that is there, has a GDP of 800 billion and per capita of over 10,000. Indonesia has, and your own is low. So the vice president has a role to build the economy, to create jobs, to be able to make the country work. So it's a critical role. In falling out with the president, if you're doing the right thing, you can't fall out with anybody. I can assure you of that. If you continue to do the right thing, because the vice president who chose you for a reason. He knows that you have something to deliver. So you're not there. You're there to be loyal to him and serve Nigeria faithfully. So I don't see where there's a problem. I can tell you I've never had any issue with anybody in government, and it won't start with this, because we will together start making Nigeria work again.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the Young Progressives Party. We run a presidential system of government which concentrates a lot of power in the office of the president. In a situation where you have a principal who hardly relinquishes power and authority, even when the Constitution mandates him or her to do so, how do you deal with such a situation?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Let me start from the platform we are on. In Young Progressive Party, I think there's no any other party in Nigeria that has given priority to women, because most of the offices we have, even in the national level, are always, these are the woman is up and the man is deputizing, or the man is up and the woman is deputizing. Professor Kingsley Magalu's presidency is about giving 50-50 opportunity to women to participate in his government in all levels of office, in all offices. So I don't think there's any presidential candidate who came up openly without any reservation to make this public. And I'm very, very sure him making this public, he really meant business. And I don't think at this level he will reverse it. That 50-50 gender equity is almost the priority in whatever we're doing in YPP and Mogalu's presidential candidacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for commenting on our videos. Please keep commenting. If you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so for regular updates. Keep watching Juvenis and keep buying Juvenis.
Juvenis is published bi-monthly by Peanuts Communications Limited. For enquiries, event coverage or advert placement, call 0803 360 8271, 0805 787 1199, 0702 811 3638, or 0808 152 4499, or visit www.juvenis.peanuts.net. Juvenis Magazine, inspiring the young at heart.